All right. So let's talk a little bit about the three deck format and what you brought to that for Worlds. So Diego, first I have queued up your aggro deck, your red yellow aggro deck that you brought. Can you want to talk a little bit about why you brought this deck and some of the card choices or your strategy here?
Yeah, so with this deck, this is like my on the play deck. A lot of people had the same game plan going into it, where they're going to bring this on the play deck that kind of just wins 100% of the time when you win the die roll or go first. So this deck was pretty much revolved around Pluto. Turn one Pluto into turn two Lady, and then using Lady to play, Piglet, the Prince. That's kind of unstoppable when you're on the play,
Yeah, for sure.
and you kind of just steamroll from there. You can even do like Pluto turn one, down, tap it to play like Mother Gothel and another one drop. And if Pluto lives, because we are banning Steel with this lineup,
Mhm.
Pluto more often lives because the only way to deal with Pluto is kind of using Brawl and attacking it straight on when you are banning Steel. And really, like, if this deck has so many bodyguards, you can't even get to Pluto. So it's really hard to deal with. And putting down a turn two lady, putting down Rapunzel early on too can just refill your hand. And yeah, it's just so much pressure. So that's mainly this deck. And I know other people in the tournament had a similar strategy using similar style deck. A few cards different, but for the most part, it has that amber aggro shell, and a lot of people did that.
Yeah, I know. I see that basically a lot of the aggressive stuff that you want to be running in this step strategy is basically isolated that amber, and then you can kind of splash different colors. I know you went with red. A lot of people went with green as their other color for this kind of deck list with like Kirchner Folk, so that kind of thing. And then of course Amber Steel was probably the most popular in this category of deck. Where you're trying to take advantage of that on the play. Any particular reason why you gravitated towards the color pairings that you did, or maybe just specifically for this one?
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. So I wanted to pair Ruby with Amber because that was going to be my aggro deck. And honestly, I don't play Ruby. So if I
Okay.
was going to play Ruby or something else, it would have been Ruby Sapphire. And I don't want to be playing Ruby Sapphire in a room full of people that main Ruby Sapphire. And that is a lot of people in Worlds. So that's why I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stick to this color combo, and then I'll have to change my other lineup to fit that color combo.
I know
So
you're
I was
you're
kind of set on this, and then
you're kinda known for your rogue strategies, right? Is this kinda just a nod to that? You're trying to make sure people don't have, I don't know, the best, like, muscle memory for some of the decks you're bringing? Was that kind of part of it?
yeah, that too is just I rather bring in these decks that people don't have hundreds and hundreds reps against, and I can get an edge that way. And use like Amber Ruby, the other colors that I would use in that lineup. So it would be green blue is what I settled on
Mhm.
for the other one. That is more of something that I had a lot of reps with too. I don't think a lot of people might have not expected it. They probably did in a way. They're probably looking at items and possibly Ben, but they weren't. They're like, okay, really, who's going to bring this? Let's just practice against that normal lineup that everybody was bringing, which was red, blue, amber, steel, and green, purple. So I wanted to, bring the curveball and make sure I can get an edge that way. Also, another reason why I went with Ruby Amber is because I didn't want to pair it with steel as well, Amber with steel. Steel is like the deck that or the color people kind of feared and would typically ban. And if I was banning Amber, like if I brought Amber Steel, that's 100% going to be banned. And probably I wouldn't even play it at all. So I didn't want to make that ban choice that easy as well for the opponent.
That makes sense. I've actually seen people play this outside of, three deck format. I actually, played somebody in a side event at the PPG weekend, actually, who was
Oh,
playing
yeah.
this list, and I was like, "Oh god, they're doing it." Um, but, any kind of aggro strategy definitely has the ability to be explosive, especially on the play, right?
Like it's honestly, if you win the die roll, you could probably just take any tournament if it's best out of three. So it is scary in that way. If you see it at said champs or something like that, like I'd be scared because it doesn't even take that much skill to play either. You kind of just turn sideways. There's little things that could take you to the like from a good player to a bad player, but for the most part, it's just how do you beat you know Daisy 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 or Pluto Lady Piglet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the removal options or Lorcana are definitely a step worse than some of the other games I've played, and you definitely find yourself on the draw with these types of decks getting run over. So, I mean, definitely a valid strategy. It seemed like this one was pretty successful for you, right? In your lineup.
Yeah, so I got it banned once and I went 2-1 with it. Unfortunately, the one that I lost, I was on the play with it and I got up to 19 lore. I had in my list four of everything except three blues and one invited to the ball. And unfortunately, that was a last minute decision because I couldn't find that fourth blue. I was playing this deck with the blue at all times. And then I was just like, oh, I'll just put an invite at the ball because I can't find this. And whatever, I probably won't even notice. But it literally came down to that card because if in a different world that was a blue, it possibly could have took it. But you know, that's in a hypothetical world.
Yeah, for sure. It's a cool list for sure. Like the Ruby elements to it actually are really interesting and give it a little bit of longevity theoretically if you go to a mid game, which is what I found when I played somebody this weekend in a side event was they were just chaining Mother Gothel and Rapunzel's into me. And it was, even though I kind of had them mostly locked out, they had that extra reach. And then Goofy off the top is always a threat too,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, exactly. I in my match against Zan, I played this on the draw. He won the die roll, and it was just the second game, and I was
Gotcha.
on the draw with this against his red blue. It was like he stabilized, but you know, I drew into a goofy. I had a goofy in hand. I'm like, okay, that's two lore. I just need one more lore, and I got this. So it's just one of those decks where it's just like you could easily get up to like 16, 18 lore, and then all it takes is one blue, one goofy to get over the finish line.
Well, so takeaways are go first and go fast. I guess if you want to win a set championships and
Yeah.
you're playing these colors, I'm gonna swap us over.
Yeah, if you're feeling lucky with die rolls, you got that.
Yeah, man, for sure. I've definitely been rolled by many a deck that look like, like say 70% like this. So I got pulled up your purple steel deck next. So this is a Jafar build with a couple of spicy ones in here.
Yeah.
Like what stand out to me first is, we're running the 3 cost genie, the 3/4, a 1 of find my platinum. Do you want to talk a little bit about where your head was at with this one and how this one worked out?
Yeah, so this is a list I was playing for a good bit leading up to the tournament. I brought it to CCS and I brought it to the main event. I didn't do too well with it because I lost to the worst matchup with, it's a 90-10 where like I'm pretty much auto losing and when that's steel song. So any steel song like base removal decks, this deck just folds. And but my strategy going into this was I'm going to be on steel. And so what this deck like it does well into purple decks, red decks, the control decks that can take long, go for to the late game. It can also be almost an aggressive deck in a way because if you get the combo off early on, you can win by turn six, and you can go from like 0 to 20 lore in a single turn. So the deck kind of revolves around shifting Jafar, getting up to 8 ink. 8 ink is like the magic spot for it because you're able to, if you have a Jafar shifted already on board, you can sing a whole new world, play a whole new world, and play Desperate Plan, and you go from 0 to 20. And so there is like that high roll potential of getting there. It also just has like a bit of that purple shell with the genies, and just you can throw thick characters. The other genie, the 3/4 steel character,
Mhm.
there it's a good amount of bodies. So it's a pretty solid deck.
Yeah, this is a really cool one. I noticed you take a kind of a more controlling slant in this build as opposed to running like the 3 cost pitch Jafar, like the illusion. We're running the 4 cost Jafar that can kind of trade up and get card advantage, stuff like that. So yeah, and the desperate plan kind of linking you into that second whole new world definitely seems like a good choice for just trying to, knock people out in one shot or just, dig to your key pieces, right? Like you're looking for very specific cards in that moment. So how did this one turn out? What was your record ended up with, or what was this good again?
Yeah, so this I went undefeated with this deck. It got banned twice, and I went 2-0 with it. One against Blurple. I believe I was on the play against Blurple with this one, and I won. And then the other match where I won with it was on the draw against green yellow aggressive deck. This was against Zan,
Gotcha.
and he was on the play and he was playing his aggro on the play deck. So I was surprised that, there's still a chance I can win against aggro decks like that because I am controlling the early game. That's all I have to do. And then on turn 7, I shifted Jafar. I took out his lady, and then he was at 18 lore, passes back to me. Turn 8, I had a whole new world genie in hand. I draw a card, ink that card that I drew, sing a whole new world with Jafar, play a whole new world that I drew, and then play Desperate Plan. And I went from 0 to 20 lore, and I just stole that game, which I was likely should have lost, but that's just how it is. And yeah, it was pretty sweet. I wish that that match was actually streamed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was disappointed we didn't see you more on stream, honestly. We had a lot of people that were kinda rooting for you and hoping to see you more on stream, but yeah, I mean, you were cooking with this one, I think. This is a really cool deck list and something might try it, like I said, champs or something. I like the idea of, like, a deck that plays its own like, it plays a steady game and then can win out of nowhere, 'cause people have
Yeah.
to kind of respect it and play play we talked about like shifting their play lines, right? Like they have to really change their game plan sometimes to play around everything. And playing around stuff sometimes just makes them lose to your primary game plan. Really cool list though. Like
Oh yeah, yeah. That is like one strategy with the deck. You honestly, you play like you have it most of the time. Even if you don't have it, you throw Jafar there, and you're like, I'm gonna shift next turn to sing a whole new world, unless you deal with it. And that is just like the majority of it. It's just like, do you have it? Do you not? Play around it if you want.
the lamp value is crazy too. Like all the lines I'm seeing kind of just looking through the list with the 3-drop genie and different casting costs on the Jafar. Like there's a lot of ways you can set up a lamp draw that can really blow people out. Looks really fun.
Yeah, the lamp is great. Yeah, for the most part, it's just like turn 2 lamp, turn 3 put down the 3/4 genie, and turn 4 put down Jafar. Break the lamp, and you get to bounce something back. Draw 2, and then still you're able to attack with your genie or sing a song if you need.
How did Damari work out for you over the weekend? That's a card I've been seeing, pop up more in these some steel deck lists. But was that the kind of a nod to locations, or is she just like a powerhouse on her own? What do you think about her?
Yeah, she's strong on her own. So with banning steel, you don't have to worry about Zeus. And the other like heavy removal would kind of be like coil Sisus, and she plays around that. So it's really hard to deal with for the Ruby decks. And you can just one shot locations. You're also filtering that, drawing a card, discarding the card, and get closer to your combo that you want to pull off. And then she's able to sing Whole New World. You need to shift Jafar that turn, sing with the shifted Jafar, and sing the.
The big body finds her combo pieces, has a and in a world where there's no steel, right? Yeah, she's pretty safe. No, that's cool. I didn't think about that, but or is this more or less the list you ran at CCS, or that is this what you would run if, in a world where we're not talking about a 3-deck format, or do you think this is still viable in that world?
I think this list is still viable other than, so it was open deck list, so that's why I added the I find in my platinum.
Mhm.
It's not necessary for those matchups against the item list, but if somebody saw that, they're like, oh, okay, I don't want to deal with this, especially if somebody's running like red blue items. They're setting up a ton of items, and one I find them at platinum late game will just destroy them. So that's something I just wanted people to fear certain cards in that deck. So like that being like Whole New World, I find them at platinum, P stuff that they would have been scared to play against. Um,
Mostly free, it
I
looks like.
like Long Came Zeus in the deck. I like a Long Came Zeus. I in my older version, I had 2 Grab Your Swords in there. Well, I was running 4 the 4-cost genies.
And we have a good amount of 5-cost singers, so I guess that makes a lot of sense. Run something like a grab your swords into an aggro meta game.
Yeah, the last thing I just wanted to say about that, somebody else brought this list to Worlds as well. Uh, sorry, Andre, I think his name was. He brought the exact same list that I brought to CCS. So it felt pretty good knowing that another Worlds competitor brought a list that I decided that it debuted, a couple weeks ago, and thought it was strong enough to actually bring to Worlds. So that was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought it was really
I
cool
think.
that your lineup, your purple steel deck was not a broom stack or this like really aggressive strategy and played kind of a different direction. So Yeah, really interesting stuff. All right, and I'm gonna pull up our last deck list here. We can talk about this one a little bit. Maybe just talk about how the overall strategy ended up working out. So I have the blue green deck pulled up, which is like a bend strategy, right? So something I played a lot in tournaments and had kind of decent amount of success with. I know you and I played at CCS when I was playing a list like this. Kind of, what was your thought process on bringing a blue green deck, and kind of what talk me through this one a little bit. What thoughts you have on it?
Yeah, so green blue, it fit the lineup that I wanted to bring. So since I was already set on red yellow, I want green blue. I thought was going to be good into the red decks. So it would kind of beat up on red blue items that I was kind of expecting a lot of people to bring. So originally I was on green blue items, and leading up to the tournament, I played against you and I was playing green blue items against the green blue bend deck, and you just destroyed me. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe green blue bend is like, the pick to the counter to the counter, and this might be like the secret sauce for the list, for worlds. So I decided, a day and a half before deck submission, okay, I'm gonna bring bend. I, with little practice from the set. So I played the deck a lot from previous sets, but I didn't touch it at all until a couple days before the actual tournament. So in hindsight, I should have just brought what I was practicing more on, and had more reps leading up to it. So I was really more set on green blue items, and it should have probably stuck to that just because it was more familiar. This bend deck, though, it's still targeted the kind of decks that I wanted to target, and also I'm banning steel, so the worst matchups for it would be steel based decks, steel based aggro decks. So I was getting those out of the way. I thought it would have been a good pick to bring. There were some choices with the deck. Like I knew there a lot of people would bring aggressive decks, so I wanted to make sure like I had a chance on the draw to try to beat those decks. So that's why there was the bell popsicle combo to kind of counter that. But I found I probably would have needed Under the Sea to actually turn things around in those matchups. Bringing Under the Sea like in the list, start to get stuck with too many high cost uninkables. It might not work the best for it.
Yeah, having played a
And
lot a
then
lot of those,
also,
I would agree with you, right? Like, it's not a deck you just pick up, and, if you had some previous experience with it, it makes a ton of sense. I know we talked a few of us that have been on this deck a little bit for this season, especially for the set 8 metagame, tell people in the chat all the time, like, "Hey, just, don't play what you know, don't run this into a big tournament if you don't know how to play against the meta," and stuff like that. Not that you don't necessarily know what you're doing, but it definitely has some play lines are not necessarily intuitive. And I would, but I thought your logic. I know we talked about this right before the tournament. You and I played a set of games just to, like you said, where you played the green blue items, which I do think this is favored into the other blue matchups generally. But they are very grindy games. Like they are games where, like, if you don't make the right plays at every kind of opportunity, you sometimes can just lose momentum and lose a game. What did you end up playing with this deck? Like, how did it go over the weekend?
yeah, so I ended up going 1 and 2 with it. It got banned once. The matchup that I won against was green purple, and yeah, I just had the nuts. So I was just able to, it was popsicle bell, Tipo into like muses. It was just kind of everything that you wanted to see in that matchup. So I was able to take that one. And then the other match I lost was against Blurple on the draw.
Oh yeah,
So typically I was like, oh, I'm Blurple. This feels good. But on the draw can be a little trickier if bombard you with all the characters they can. And then what made me really lose that matchup was, I discarded their whole hand in that turn. Oh, sing, they draw into friends, sing friends, draw into another friend, sing it, and kind of just refill their hand. And now I'm back to square one. I lost that matchup and against red blue items I lost as well. And that was just a grindy game. And I I ran out of steam. Like I didn't have enough threats for them. There were turns like I felt pretty good, but then he drew the B prep, he drew the Sisu on the following turn, and kind of just Now I'm out of cards. He has a threat, and now I have to kind of deal with that. And ended up going down to literally 5 cards left in my deck. There was a point in the match where I had to count how many cards are left in my deck. I had to count how many cards he had left. There was nothing else that I could play to actually gain lore to get over the top.
I know a lot of us were rooting for you and knew you were playing this deck. Just because it's kind of a rogue strategy, like most of the stuff you play, right? Um, and I think there was a little bit of a buzz about this type of strategy because it had done well in the ladder recently. And I know I talked to Jeremy a little bit, which is probably why they banned it. I played Jeremy a little bit in CCS a couple of weeks prior to that, and just demolished him. Shout out to Jeremy. But it was he was on Blurple, and really for those purple strategies, usually you feel pretty good into all of those. And the blue strategies can be tough. Sucks it didn't work out for you, man. I definitely we were with you on that last round. You're like, oh man, one more win, he gets in with all his spicy deck list.
Yeah.
Nothing on camera either, man. We were disappointed of that too. It's like especially with so many spicy deck lists, I would have thought they would have thrown you on the camera to get some of these interesting lists on there. The last thing I just want to talk about is so you had this overall strategy, right? Like you brought things that a lot of people didn't. With the exception of one other player playing your, I guess your Jafar list. I think we did see some Amber Red in there a little bit too. But most people went with kind of the expected amber steel, blue red, and we saw that kind of flesh out in the top eight. Most of the people just kind of ran the typical tier one decks that everybody would expect. So just to kind of wrap us up, what was the overall strategy here, and would you do anything differently if you had to do this again?
Yeah, the overall strategy actually, I kind of approached it in a way where I was bringing decks that I knew their worst matchups were steel. So I'm bringing these decks, keeping in mind like I'm gonna just ban steel. These decks, like if I'm banning the worst color for these decks, probably the rest of the field is good to play into. Unless, and generally, yes, like most meta decks, I'd feel comfortable. But this was World, so people are going to bring like off the wall kind of decks and probably a lot of tech cards that are like, okay, yeah, I'm also banning a certain color. So you can't really predict every single thing. But I'm just keeping in mind, okay, I'm bringing these 3 decks that fold to Amber Steel. Like all of them will just lose the Amber Steel. So um, now I'm left with these like I just banned the Amber Steel always, and now I'm left with like good matchups for the rest of the field. So that was kind of my strategy overall, bringing decks that people wouldn't have a lot of reps into. So I'm able to get an edge that way. And if I was to run it again, I would bring the same lineup, obviously, with the exception of green blue items, just because I had more practice with it leading up. I had more practice with green bend this set. I probably would have brought it as well, and maybe just tweaked up different cards just to tech around what I would have saw. Teched it more or I would have played it more into green blue items, or sorry, to red blue items, and see like what do I need for this? Do I need more threats? Do I need locations? So when I get B prepped, I can just play the locations, and then also if I'm against aggro, do I need Under the Sea to actually win on the draw? And those are the kind of questions I didn't get as the amount of time that I had after the deck switch. So if I were to do it again, it would have been green blue items just because I actually had those answers. And to be honest, probably should have just stuck to it just because I was more familiar with it.
One last thing I want to ask, just to finish up this topic. What did you think of this format? Do you think this is a format the world should use going forward?
No, I don't think they should use this going forward. It's just because I think it is exploitable. So I think we all saw that everybody brought this on the play deck to win when they go first. So winning the die roll is very important. Almost ended up being just like a best of one format because we're just playing that one match that I guess determined the whole thing, or that one game to determine the whole match. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest. I'd maybe doing something different with it. Uh, with only 6 ink colors, and you're able to ban one, you're left with 5 ink colors left. Those ink colors have all their unique identities. So there's things that you can. Everybody was okay, I'm going to ban steel, and then I'm able to play these cards, and now I can win going on the play with this list, and every other matchup seems pretty good. So like it is pretty exploitable. Winning the die roll is just very important. So I don't think the strategy should, or the world should be determined by winning die rolls and winning these non games, basically.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Momentum just carries so far, especially on the play draw. I think going back to our first conversation about the those amber decks and just how they can steamroll you if they just go first, and so hopefully they swap it up for next year. It was interesting to watch for sure as a spectator. I know a lot of us were kind of thinking there's going to be a whole lot of leveling up for this strategy or for this portion of the gameplay for the three deck format. And it looks like you did, and like several other people kind of did bring some interesting new strategies that we didn't see because of this format. But in the end, we saw kind of rise to the top where those like tier one strategies just kind of tweaked a little bit for this type of meta game. So interesting stuff though.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a good experience, and just planning for it was a lot. Like it was a whole new metagame. You don't know what other people are expecting. You kind of go through this loop and loop of like, okay, people are gonna bring, the most basic lineup, which a lot of people did. Um, and then you kind of like go to the next level. You're like, okay, I'm gonna counter this. So then you go to the next level. I'm gonna counter the counter. And then a lot of people probably just thought that, went through this loop, and then just brought the level one. And yeah, it was just a lot to think, a lot of pressure. And at the end of the day, I think people should have just brought like what they were most comfortable with, and I think that's what they ended up settling with.
All right. So from David, who is local to Georgia, he has a couple of questions. We covered this a little bit, but if you just want to touch back, what was the atmosphere like, and would you have preferred if fans were able to attend?
Yeah, so it was fairly quiet, I personally would have preferred if fans could have attended. I don't mind there being a crowd and probably would have got us more hyped up. So it wasn't that nerve-wracking at all because there wasn't much of a crowd. Like you're going into this room and there's a bunch of tables where you're playing your matches and fairly quiet. So like I was able to focus and play my game, but if there was a crowd, I think like that would have just been a better experience overall for people watching, people there, us players kind of just feeling like this thing is you know, super grand and um, just having people cheer you on. That would have been pretty sweet. So yeah, I hopefully next year there is a public event, and then a whole like watching station for the finals. That would have been amazing to see.
Was the venue is pretty small where they actually had you guys land, right? Like there wasn't really place for them to run like a side event tournament, a Grand Prix or something along those lines, right?
Um, the convention center, I think there is like there's just a bunch of different rooms, and I think they could have probably had I'm pretty sure there is like a big ballroom that they could have had like a whole DLC if they wanted to.
Gotcha.
Um, I think what they did with Continentals was probably like the best way to do it, where the players go to a separate room to play, and then in a whole other area there is the DLC going on, and then once you have like a stream match, you can have that crowd nearby. I think that was the perfect mix of it, where yeah, when players are playing, you can have that private area, and then there's the whole separate area, and then you meet the two once it gets to the big stream matches.
Cool. Okay. My buddy Zach, also from Georgia area, kind of asked me to throw this one at you. So, are you collecting your winnings? Do you have just a big pile of all these promos at this point, or are you getting rid of them and cashing out?
Yeah, it's a whole like one thing comes to me, but it goes out, but then like five more things come into me. So I have a big collection. I have a ton of enchanteds. I have few of my promos left, but some of them, like the big ticket ones, I'd gotten rid of, and pretty much like I sell one for a certain amount and then I just get five more. So it's a never-ending cycle, but yeah, I like collecting. I like the collecting aspect of the whole game. Like I'm always buying when a new set comes out, I buy a case and try to get enchanteds. I don't buy too many singles because I get most of them just by opening packs. So
Yeah,
yeah, I have a good collection going on.
when you told me you were practicing Super Seal by just opening all the packs, I had a feeling you might have been a collector, like just like to
Yeah.
rip packs. To me, it's sacrilege. I can't even open packs. Like I can't do it. I just
No.
buy singles and like what I need, and then uh, my buddy David, funny enough, he buys a ton of stuff. He loves opening packs, and there's plenty of art. We got a local big collector scene, so they help me out with uncommons and commons a lot. So they're part of my strategy. Um,
No, it works out for you. Like I have bulk boxes on bulk boxes.
yeah, I know the feeling. We got a lot of locals in the same situation.
Yeah.
A couple more. So Richard asks, "What's your background at TCGs, and what other hobbies you might have?"
Yeah, like I said, mentioned earlier, I played Hearthstone when that first came out against like 2015-ish, and I was playing more casually back then, and then one year I was like, okay, I'm gonna actually go to a couple major events. So that happened 2017, late 2017, early 2018. I started going to a couple events. Just there's some from the Toronto area.
Okay,
So there's one major that came up there. There's another major that came in Montreal, and then I also went to Atlanta for the first time and played a major there. So they had a seasonal circuit. If you get enough qualifying points, you go to the the seasonal. So I did that and I qualified, and that was like the one time I actually went hard. But for the main part, I was more of an online grinder. So I played online a lot for Hearthstone, and then eventually it was just I dropped it just because I started getting pretty frustrated with it, just all the randomness and how like OP cards can get. And then eventually I want to get back into card games, so I took a big hiatus from Hearthstone. And right at the time I was looking into card games, I just Googled it and Lorcana came up. And I saw that Lorcana was coming out like a week later. It already came out in hobby stores,
cool.
and then like next week it was coming out to retail stores. And right away I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm gonna like just go all in and try this out. And I wanted to try to get into like any other card game, but Disney, um, I was starting to just pick up more Disney stuff, like get into it. I for my honeymoon, I went to Disney World.
Oh, cool.
Just my wife's into it, and
Same.
I yeah.
I came I came from Magic like most recently. I played Hearthstone as well, like until they swapped over to like a Type Two. I forgot what when they reduced the card pool. That's kind of when I got out of it. But I played competitively and streamed for a little while. But it sounds like yours very similar to mine. Like, hey, I wanted to play a card game, and my wife likes Disney stuff. So is that kind of the story? Or
Yeah, pretty much. And then like I wanted to maybe get into Yu-Gi-Oh, but when you look at a Yu-Gi-Oh card, it's just like a wall of
the
text,
math?
and I'm like, I can't do this.
I think you dodged the bullet on
And
that one,
like,
man. No offense
yeah,
to the Yu-Gi-Oh folks out there, but they no resources. It's oh that's a game that's rough for me at least.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So then I gave Lorcana a try, and I'm like, this is very similar to Hearthstone. And I'm like, okay, yeah, like I had played online a lot. I became a big grinder on Pixelborn back when it was around, and then now into the new stuff. And I just like playing online a lot and playing a lot of different decks. So I got really into Lorcana. And then for other hobbies, non-existent. So I'm pretty much just like I work. I have a 1.5-year-old. Um, house to take care of, and then at night I'm pretty much just I hop on Lorcanito and play some games of Lorcana. So like I don't have too much free time, and when I do, it's pretty much I'm focused on Lorcana or playing maybe some other games, but I always just like somehow I just go back to Lorcana. Let's play. Let's play.
It's worked out for you, man. I wouldn't break it. I wouldn't change it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people that are like big online grinders, they're just really addicted to playing Lorcana, and um, it can really show in your results. So
It's
yeah,
funny over the like especially over this last CCS and then especially as Texas last weekend. Like I just keep putting names to faces. Like people that I played a million times on Pixelborn or whatever. Like you and I played had to have played at least 20, 30 times on Pixelborn. I was trying to grind out for the top 10 or whatever. And I was like,
yeah,
after we played, I'm like, oh crap, it's been the whole 9001. Like I don't even know who
yeah,
you like. I didn't put two and two together, right? But it's like I did that with a few different people this weekend. Like I met Sky for the first time this weekend, which he and I had chatted back and forth a long time. It's been fun, kind of fun, like going to the big events where people come in, come to our neck of the woods because we have really good, you guys we have CCS, we have really cool tournament grinders here. But yeah, just putting two and two together when I see their name in melee, and I'm like, oh, that's you, neat, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
it
No,
was,
yeah, it's so good to see like a bunch of those OG Pixelboard names and finally put like a face to the name.
yeah, for sure. A couple more things I wanted us to kind of talk through. Opinions on the reduction in DLCs.
Yeah, I wish there was more. I'm hoping that there's some extra plan in the works to have kind of like a regional level DLCs just for, and there's just more of them. I Yeah, I'm hoping there's something more
It does
just that would come from it.
since they threw this question out. I do think there have been a couple of announcements and not necessarily anything solid yet. Of
Yeah.
course, CCS, I want to say PPG both have their own little circuit now. But Disney has said in one of their casts that they are going to support some of these third party tournaments and start throwing invites into those. So I don't know if you had heard of
Mm.
that or like opinions on that.
Yeah, I think I saw a comment saying like, yeah, there we can incorporate this into third party events. What that'll look like, love to see what that would be, but yeah, if we're, at a CCS event and they're like, okay, top 8 also get an invite to nationals, that would be amazing. People are so hyped to go to these big events already. Throw in the possibility of qualifying for like the main circuit. I feel like that would get people really hyped up and actually go to all these third party events all around the North America. And I'm from Canada, and
Yeah,
obviously we didn't get a DLC in Canada,
I
so
was just about to
pretty
say,
bummed out about that.
hopefully you guys get some cool tournaments up there too. I mean, I just like to
Yeah,
go. I would just like to go to Toronto and have a good reason to go there outside of work. Um,
yeah, for sure. And seeing like we don't even get big third party events here. So it's unfortunate that we didn't get anything, and I'm hoping maybe there are a third party event. Some one big vendor that's around here is Face to Face.
mhm.
I know they do a whole circuit for Magic. It would be great if Ravensburger would just say, "Hey, you guys are good to run, this third party event, and we'll give you invites." I know a lot of people in Canada would jump to that and just go to this event, and we need something like that.
A lot of good players in Toronto too. That I kind of figured out over this weekend too. Habibi, I didn't realize you were Toronto, but like Pandemonium's up there. A lot of I don't know if that's your direct community, but like a lot of folks I didn't think came out of Toronto actually. A lot of solid players in that little group.
Yeah, yeah. Every like I know all those guys, and like we talk regularly and see each other at these tournaments. Um, every tournament that we go to is just stacked. It is so hard.
Oh, trust me,
Um,
Atlanta's the same, man. Like we got some crunchy folks.
yeah,
We had two folks qualify
and
for Worlds from Atlanta, so it was like
yeah,
yuck.
yeah. That's pretty good.
Uh, so thinking for into the next set a little bit, and this is something I've been asking other people too. What cards do you think are going to get reprinted in Fabled? Do you have any hot takes on that?
Yeah, I think so. I don't want to see kind of the staple cards that we see today. I'd rather not see those reprinted. Anything that's kind of like been just auto include in most decks.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, we don't get to see those reprinted. And other cards that could potentially be good, um, brought back that were just put to the side. Like I would actually love to see Beast Tragic Hero come back.
The cool card.
That I feel like that was pretty fairish and a good card. Um, and but certain cards were holding it back, possibly. I know it is played a lot. Um, in green, I as much as I love green, as much as I love like Prince John and Ursula and Diablo, probably leave those in the past. Um,
Let it die. I don't want to see them again.
yeah,
Get it out of here.
l- we can let them die. And I've noticed a kind of bit of a trend with green recently. They're trying to make it like very control
Yeah,
heavy.
the
Uh,
identity shifting a little
so
bit. I feel like.
yeah, and so I could probably see them reprinting like Under the Sea because
Okay,
that's more of a control card.
is that one
Um,
rotating? I guess it is. It's pretty early
yes,
on. Yeah,
it is set 4. Um, and maybe green goes this heavy like control route, and a card from that like I a Lyle Tiberius Rourke. I
yeah.
always loved that card. Um, maybe they bring that back too. So I
Okay.
love to see that come back, and yeah,
Yeah, I'd
be
love
good
to
to
see
see.
some of these cards that were a little bit fringe, just because they got power crept out. A couple of
Yeah,
the ones you mentioned, like Under the Sea. Under the Sea is a card that definitely was like really close. Like obviously good in the deck you won your Toronto DLC with, but yeah, it's yeah, that's kind of what I look to see too. Like not the same removal spells. Like I don't want to see all these same steel removal spells that we saw before. Let's give us new cards to play with. Let's learn some new stuff. And it also like impacts that internal format, right? Like we get more cards to play with in that bigger format as opposed to all these reprints.
for sure.
Cool. Any just for fun decks that you like playing maybe at locals, like outside of like meta stuff.
I mean, most of the decks I do play are not even meta decks.
I think
So
that's fair. Yeah, especially when you
yeah.
run to Worlds. I think you're the only person on Jafar, only person on green blue, not items. So off the beat.
Actually, one other person brought Jafar,
Oh, okay.
and they brought the exact list. So I brought Jafar to the main event of CCS, and they brought the exact same list I brought to CCS. They just copied mine, and it felt pretty good because I'm like, oh, somebody, somebody else at Worlds has like high hopes for this deck, and they decided to copy that one. So it's pretty flattering to see that.
I like to think, and it made me happy for you to hear that Zan banned out the blue green. I like to think that I did mental damage enough to Jeremy that it carried over to Zan, and he didn't want to see that
Yes.
nonsense. Didn't want to play against
Yeah.
it. That may not actually be true, and I don't like it, but in my headspace right now, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, 100%. And
So
I feel like in that matchup, it probably would have won too against his Red Blue Sharks.
yeah, totally.
Um, but yeah, other decks like I'm pretty much I bring discard a lot in just various forms. And it's probably my locals don't like it. So
No,
I brought like Emerald discard, green purple discard, bend. Yeah, I play around a lot with emerald decks, pretty much.
cool. Okay. Um, we talked a little bit about the preparation process already. Let me see if any of these questions really take us in a new direction. Um, what surprises you? What surprises did you encounter during the tournament? I guess we'll end with that one. Is there anything that surprised you while you were there, like good or bad? I guess.
Surprise me. Um, Probably just to see that I guess other people, it was more of like other people were thinking similar to me, where they were just okay, we're gonna bring that hyper aggressive on the play deck. It's kind of like what I was assuming, but I was also, what if people just like try to counter that as well? Um, so it's funny to see that people ended up doing the on the play thing a lot. And then what also did surprise me is a lot of people stayed that level 1 kind of color combo. So that would have been red, blue, amber, steel, and what was the last one? Green, purple. So that was represented a lot, and so that did surprise me. I thought people would kind of like be more innovative with just the choices, but I think a lot of people were like, okay, I'm just going to bring 3 good color combos and let the decks speak for themselves. And some of them were like, okay, if a lot of people are bringing this, level 1 deck, let's just build it so I'm beating the mirror a lot. And
Hmm.
that's where I saw, okay, people are bringing 4 hideaways in their red blue items. So
Yes.
they're trying to anticipate, playing the mirror quite a bit.
Were all the Maelstrom people doing that, or was it just Sailor? I know I saw Sailor had 4 in his list. I'm like, what are we doing here?
I think Sailor and Wonder brought the exact same cards,
Got
so
that kind
yeah,
of makes sense.
they went 4 hideaways. I know Federico, my last matchup, he brought 4 hideaways in his list, and then um, I think a lot of people were like at least included a few hideaways, but if not 4. 4 is pretty heavy, and yeah, they were just anticipating doing the mirror a lot, so that did surprise me quite a bit.
Okay. Well, hey man, Diego, I really appreciate you taking the time and kind of chewing up some of these questions and telling us about how our worlds went. Anything you want to shout out as we kind of wrap up the video?
Yeah, shout out to you. Yeah, thanks for running some practice matches on the night before and just having me for this call. Shout out to my team, Team Luxury. They prepped me a lot for Worlds. Like playing Super Sealed, going down to Atlanta to play with Ferrante and Kevin, who's a local to you. Um, that was amazing. Just got in a lot of prep. They helped me build my decks too. Um, and yeah, the rest of the team as well, Team Luxury Gaming. Shout out to them. It's been really good ride. I practiced a lot for Worlds, and honestly, I'm excited for the next DLC season and even going out to the whole CCS series. Excited for that.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we'll definitely see you around Atlanta area. Hopefully, we can dodge and I don't have to play you playing discard again.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Until next time, appreciate you. Have a good one.